Hello, welcome to the Weather Hazard Briefing presented by National Weather Service Pocatello for Saturday, September 28th. Here's what you'll see in this presentation. We expect summer-like conditions for the weekend. That means near 90 degrees at some of the lower elevations, and humidity at low elevations should be below 15%, and even in some mid and high level that will be true. We do expect a dry cold front coming in Sunday night. What that will do is increase the wind on Sunday afternoon, and we do have concerns about red flag conditions, mostly in the Snake River Plain and in the central Idaho mountains, but even places in the eastern foothills bordering up against Wyoming will be challenging red flag conditions. This front, though, will, from Sunday to Monday, cool the temperatures rather strongly. 15 to 20 degrees. We'll be struggling to get into the 60s on Monday. However, the humidity still stays very low, so this is very bone dry air that's pretty cold. And still, as we look out in the long term, or into the medium range I should say, we still have no precipitation in the forecast until maybe Friday night. So let's see what's going on. Here's a satellite image. You can see there's almost no cloud over the Great Basin, just a few high clouds streaming through the panhandle of Idaho and into northwest Montana. And otherwise, the only thing you see is stratus and fog in the usual places along the California and Oregon coast. Here's our weather risk outlook. We do have some very low RH in most locations today, with the exception of the southeast and eastern highlands. And on Sunday, we're going to add winds to the mix. If we had actually issued red flag warnings at this time, this would probably put it into red. But right now, it's orange. A lot of places, for instance, the Lost River area in Lemhi County, you not only need the weather conditions, you also need the fuel conditions to be right, and currently they are not. And so it is very unlikely that red flags would be issued for this area. However, if in the case of established fires, and there's been quite a few in this region this fire season, the local firefighting agency should be on alert that they could see some good spread rates and good intensities with these kinds of winds and the low relative humidity. Once we get into Monday, though, the winds are over with. The temperatures are much cooler, which means humidity is not as much of a factor, even though it is still pretty low, and that continues into Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, so let's look at today. We have the high pressure ridge in place over the northern Rockies, and that is keeping the northern Great Basin pretty dry. You can see there's a boundary up here which is pretty dry. There's not much moisture associated with this low. So let's see what's going to happen with temperatures today. Look at these. Well, some places will exceed 90 degrees, mostly in the eastern Magic Valley, and actually even in the western Magic Valley. But even Pocatello will be at 89, and look at Stanley, 83 degrees. Chalice at 88. They've been setting records this past week, a couple of them, for the particular date, and this is probably another record breaker. And then look at these relative humidities, 11% at Chalice. That's something you would only see in high summer. Lots of below 15%, even in the Snake River Plain and eastern Magic Valley. But here are the gusts today. They aren't too bad. There's limited areas of 25 to 30 miles an hour. They're mostly on ridge tops where usually the relative humidities are higher. In the central Idaho mountains, you can see it's pretty light down here in the Snake River Plain and eastern Magic Valley, at least for today and this evening. Then the overnight lows tonight, you can see Stanley 37 degrees, Pocatello 59. That's very mild for this time of year. And the overnight maximum humidities, you can see some terrible recoveries. That is maximum humidities in mostly the central Idaho mountains and in the southern hills. And whenever you see it turn to this orange color, that means it's less than 40%, and that's not good recovery at all. what you want is to have something in the greens here, like the valley will be and the Snake River Plain will be for tonight. And then you can see here on Sunday, the front will be at the Oregon-Idaho border at 8 a.m. Or 6 a.m. our time tomorrow morning. By midnight tomorrow night, it will be at the Idaho-Wyoming border, so it will take all day to cross through here. And it will be generating some very good winds, some incredibly cool temperatures back in here. Notice all the rain is staying up near the California border. It's nowhere near southern Idaho. And here you go, Sunday. Not quite as warm as the day before. It's down about 6 degrees on average. Stanley down to 75. And humidity, though, we still hang on to a lot of areas below 15%. And this is why it's very much a borderline case for sure. So a lot will depend on what the fuel conditions are like. The winds on Sunday and Sunday evening. This is our windiest day of the next 3. You can see here 30 to 40 miles an hour in these green and yellow contours. This bright green, and even 25 to 30 in the darker olive colored green. So, and even higher up here in portions of Lemhi County. So real windy day for a good portion of at least the northern half of our area. Not so much in our southern tier that borders Utah. Our low temperatures on Sunday night. You can see the cold air behind here. Stanley down 15 degrees to 22. Meanwhile, though, we'll still remain breezy on the sort of a southeast corner of our forecast area, and so temperatures are going to be pretty mild. It's still in the 40s. And recovery improves, especially here in the central Idaho mountains. Oh, there's still a few areas in the Wood River Basin to be careful of, and it's still pretty bad recovery of humidity down here in the southern hills. And here on Monday, by 6 a.m., you can see that cold front has moved well into Wyoming and central Utah, so it is out of here. And no precipitation. It's staying up there along the border of Montana with Canada. High temperature on Monday. Look at this. We go from 80s to near 90. Now we're struggling to see 66 in Pocatello, 65 in Stanley. And the relative humidity's still very dry. A lot of widespread areas below 15%. So that shows you how extremely dry this air is. Even though we lost about 20 degrees of heat, the relative humidity is staying the same, and that is rare. Usually for every 20-degree temperature change where it cools, you would normally see the humidity double, and it's just not doing that here. The gusts on Monday evening, you see that the winds are over. Really light winds with the exception of the eastern Magic Valley, where it's gusting 25 to maybe 35 miles an hour or so down here in portions of it, but the areas above 30 miles an hour are pretty limited. Overnight lows on Monday night, moderating a little bit. At Stanley, it's up a degree to 23. You can see Pocatello, though, has cooled down 8 degrees. It's now down to 40 as we lose the winds. There's no cloud cover. Will be much cooler come Monday night here in Pocatello. And you can see continue to have this really dry air and poor recoveries. They do return to Monday night to the central Idaho mountains and these south central highlands here. Still very bad recovery, which means any fires continue to burn actively overnight once it gets below 40%. That's all I have. If you have any further questions, you can always contact us at the telephone number here, or check out the weather yourself at weather.gov/Pocatello. Thanks for watching.